Go to school, get a job, work 80 hours per week, and repeat for the next 30 years. That right there was nearly my reality. Just 2 years ago, I was the highest standing student at my law school, which is one of the top law schools in Canada. And I had a job lined up at the top corporate law firm in Toronto called Davies, Ward, Phillips in Vineberg. After I graduated law school, I would work for 6 or 7 years as an associate. And after 6 or 7 years, I would eventually make partner. And from what I saw at the law firm, partners work 60 to 80 hours a week, every single week. So I thought I would do that and eventually retire at like 65, 70 years old. And I was literally this close to going down that path. I wanted to share with you a little bit more about my story and myself and how I went from literally $150,000 in law school debt to millionaire, living in Dubai, living the life of my dreams. So hopefully you can apply some of what I share with you to your own life so you can make a similar transformation yourself. A lot of the time when people like me now, they think that there's something different about them. And let me tell you, I'm probably a lot more like you than you think. So I'm from a very small town in Canada. It's called St. Thomas, Ontario, which is literally best known for the biggest elephant ever getting like run over by a train. Really not too much exciting going on there. And that's where I was born and raised the first 25 years of my life. I'm from a very middle class family. We never went on any family vacations. My mom worked as like a dental assistant and my dad worked as a respiratory therapist at the local hospital, both government jobs, the most average upbringing that you can imagine. And while I was away for school, when I was 17, 18 years old, my parents divorced. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows my whole life is what I'm trying to say. But the one thing that I did have going for me was hockey. I started skating at like 2 years old. I ended up making it to semi-pro. I moved away from home at 16 years old to play hockey. And I got around other athletes, like-minded people from a young age. And I played in the OHL for 3 years. And eventually I had bad concussions put into my career, which was a very, very hard time. Essentially, I was locked in a dark room for like 1 to 2 months. I couldn't look at any screens, constant headaches. I couldn't think clearly. And the thing with concussions is the more that you get, the worse they are. So I had like 3 or 4 and they were coming more and more frequently. So I just like, you know what, if I want to have a brain and be able to think properly, then I need to stop. All I really cared about was hockey. And then I had that stripped away from me in an instant. All of a sudden I had lost my identity. I lost my main sense of confidence. And that's when I first went to university. So I got into partying too much. I was going out 4 or 5 days a week. I got out of shape and overall it was just not a good time. I was doing terrible in school. And what actually took me out of this was I started reading self-help books. I think the first book I ever read was one called Who Says You Can't, You Do by Daniel Chidiak. And that book really put me on the path to personal development. So I started listening to podcasts. The first podcast I listened to pretty consistently was Andy Frisella's, I think at the time it was called the MFCEO Project. Obviously, when you start consuming that content, you have a desire to start a business. And I was 18, 19 years old at this time, but I had no idea where to start. So I just kept going to school. But I took what I was learning from personal development and I used that to put myself on a better path. So my average went from like 62% in first year university to like 93%. Now, usually to get into law school, you have to finish your 4 years of undergrad and then you go. But I had such a good second and third year university. Western Law actually let me in before graduating. First year law school was an adjustment for me. And then second year before the law school recruitment, I was at the very top of my class in one of the best schools in Canada. And it was just applying all these character traits, discipline, work ethic that I know that I should be using in business, but I was applying them to school. And I really accomplished amazing results. I got the job at that firm. They hosted a dinner in Toronto for us. I was living in St. Thomas, just 2 hours away from Toronto. I think there was like 10 summer students who were in my class. The student coordinator told the lawyers, the summer students have this dinner tonight. Don't ask them to do anything. Like this is their one night the whole year that they get to enjoy themselves. They get to hang out with each other, have some drinks and have fun. So I was on this project with a lawyer and around like 9 p.m. I get a text from this lawyer that I'm on a file with. She's like, hey, can you do this? I said, hey, not sure if you saw, but the students are at our dinner tonight. I'm not available. She's like, no, this is an emergency. I need this done tonight. I'm like, I'm not in the condition to go do a bunch of law firm work right now. But what I will do is I'll wake up at 4 a.m. tomorrow and I'll have it on your desk by 7. And she said, no, I need it on my desk by 12. Tonight. So I ended up just doing what I wanted and doing it the next day anyway. But that was really kind of a wake-up call for me that if you're going to be a lawyer, you're literally someone's slave. You're going to work like 70 to 80 hours per week. Our summer at the law firm ended around August 5th. And the third year of law school started early September. So I remember we had 5 or 6 weeks where we didn't have anything. And at this time, I had like $150,000 in student debt. So I said to my firm, hey, I know our summer's over on August 5th, but can I keep working just as part-time? And they said, no, if we offer it to you, we're going to have to offer it to all the students. So what I did was then had the brilliant idea to start an AliExpress dropshipping store. And I failed miserably. I failed like 13 of them until I finally found what I do now, which is high-ticket e-commerce, where we essentially sell expensive products, over $1,000 profit per order. order from name brands in the USA. Once I got started in high-ticket e-commerce, my first niche that I wanted to try was furniture. There's a whole bunch of headaches because essentially none of the brands enforce minimum advertised price. And another thing is they make you ship your own products. So I failed miserably for 2 or 3 weeks until I finally started thinking, what's somewhat like furniture that I can add? So I ended up adding infrared saunas for my store and things took off quick. I think I made my first sale October 21st, 2021 for $14,000. By the end of November, so 39 days later, I crossed 177,000. And this is in my third year of law school. I was going all in on this e-commerce store and that's when things started to take off. By December, I hit 215,000 in a single month, which was triple more than I was going to be making as a lawyer as after I graduated. So I literally took law school loan money from the government of Canada that was supposed to be going to law school and I used it to start this business that was now making me more than a lawyer. I ended up paying off all my law school debt. So I was talking to my parents, I was telling them I wanted to drop out. They said, Brooke, like, why don't you just go back, finish your degree, you could still do your business, but just finish your third year, get your degree. So if anything happens, you still have it. I didn't want to, but out of respect for my parents, I just did it anyway. I went back in the second semester of my final year for about a month for January. And then I just said, you know what, screw this, and dropped out because I didn't even want the backup plan. So I knew inevitably in business, like there were going to be hard times where things were challenging. And I didn't want a 6-figure job just sitting there waiting for me whenever I wanted it. I wanted to have to make business work. I wanted to have no choice but to make it happen. I had quick success, but it wasn't all smooth. That's all part of the game. And I think that's the biggest realization that I've had in entrepreneurship is you're going to be facing bigger and bigger challenges as you go, but your stress tolerance just goes up and you get better at dealing with these problems. And one thing that I found interesting is there's no such thing as business problems. There's personal problems that manifest yourself in your business. Let's say you're not a leader and you're at the stage where you need to start hiring people to grow your business because you can't grow it by yourself forever. So if you're not a good leader, you're going to have a very hard time hiring people and getting them to do a good job for you. Let's say if you're not organized, you can be a disorganized person with a 1 to 2 person business of like $100,000 per month, but try running $1 million per month business when you're disorganized. It's not going to happen. When your business stops progressing, you need to have a look in the mirror and ask which personal traits that are negatives for you or things you need to work on do you need to improve to advance your business. I launched my e-commerce store in September of 2021, made my first sale in October, and I actually had no social media presence at all. No YouTube, no Twitter. In July of 2022, I made a Twitter and Instagram to sharing my story, what I was doing online. I had hundreds of people messaging me, asking me for advice and consulting, and that's what eventually led to me launching my coaching program in October of last year. And that's also turned into an awesome business, helped out hundreds of people, and now I also have my own e-commerce brand. High-ticket dropshipping is the best business model for a beginner to get involved in because it teaches you the skills and you can do very, very well with it, but you're selling other brands' products. So eventually I wanted to sell my own products. High-ticket dropshipping prepared me for that perfectly because I built up all the skills that I needed to do well with that. And I also was able to save a whole bunch of capital so then I would have to invest in my own brand. Because when you're starting your own high-ticket e-commerce brand, it is capital intensive. So my first inventory order was like 50 grand. And that's like the lowest because you're selling super high priced items and you have to order them in bulk from your manufacturer. You can build a dropshipping store as big as you want. There's stores like Barbecue Guys doing hundreds of millions of dollars per year, but they're selling other brands' products. So you can do that and just keep building your high-ticket dropshipping store. Or if you want, you can eventually take the skills and the capital you're accumulating and use it to start your own brand. And I've also recently launched a software, it's called Supplier HQ, which has all the high-ticket dropshipping suppliers in one place with all the most important data that you would need on them, such as minimum advertised price, average product price, margins, contacts that you can reach out to, has everything you need all in one spot. But yeah, that's my story, 150K in debt to multiple millions in just under 2 years. I don't tell this to brag. I tell this because just 2 years ago, I was in a place probably very much like some of you. You might be in university, you might be in a job you don't like, and that was me. But I worked hard, I believed in myself, and I made it happen. And if you told me this 2 years ago that I would have this life today, I would have said you're absolutely crazy. I genuinely believe if one person can do something, so can another. So if I can do this, I know you can too. It's just a matter of you believing in yourself. You just have to take that first step. It might not be easy, but you have to take one step and you have to take another, and you have to build momentum for yourself. I hope you take this video that you're watching right now is your sign to take that first step and that you make 2024 your year. If you want to watch a completely free 2-hour training that I put together that shows you exactly how to build and scale your first e-commerce store to 10,000 plus profit per month, I'm going to link the training below this video. And if you want to work directly with me and my team, where we'll give you a one-on-one coach, you can apply to the High Ticket E-commerce Incubator Mastermind program. But I hope you took lots of value from today's video. Hit subscribe below, give this video a like. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the description and I'll answer them all. Cheers.